The ink barely had time to dry on the Gaza ceasefire deal before Israel's military launched another attack on Palestinians. But this is the occupied West Bank. Within days, Israeli forces have killed a dozen people and wounded many more. It's a coordinated operation. Raids have been happening across the territory, from Jericho to Bethlehem to Ramallah. But the largest is in Jenin. Israeli forces have been on the ground and in the air. They've bombed buildings, detained dozens of Palestinians, and as usual, bulldozed roads. But it's not just Israeli forces who have been targeting Jenin. In December, the Palestinian Authority, which administers part of the West Bank, launched its own operation in the Jenin refugee camp. The crackdown was aimed at rival groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The UN's refugee agency says the refugee camp has become nearly uninhabitable, with an estimated 2,000 families displaced since then. We know Israel uses its war on Palestinians as a testing ground for not only weapons but also tactics. And Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said forces are now applying in Jenin the tactic of repeated raids learned from the war in Gaza. They say they're targeting terrorist groups. Oh, and then there are the settlers. The Israeli military set up dozens more checkpoints to stop farmers from reaching their farmlands and to seal civilians into entire cities, such as Hebron and Bethlehem. And that's allowed settlers to try to take over those unattended farms. It's all part of an ongoing state-backed strategy of illegal settlement expansion. Palestinians fear it's also about West Bank annexation. One of the first things Donald Trump did when he took office was cancel Biden-era sanctions on far-right Israeli settler groups and individuals accused of violence against Palestinians. We don't know if any promises were made to Israeli officials in return for backing the Gaza ceasefire. There's also Trump's UN envoy, Elise Stefanik.
I did ask you whether you subscribe to the views of Finance Minister Smotrich.
Of who? I'm sorry, Finance.
Smotrich, this is the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich, and the former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. Is that your view today?
Yes.
Okay.
Israel's Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, has warned Israel is preparing for another war, but in his own words, this time in the West Bank until complete victory. Smotrich is also in charge of the settlement project and has announced Israel will annex the West Bank this year. That is about 94% of the territory meant for a future Palestinian state.